Peter Robinson, for one, knew that his wife should not take money in such circumstances. And when he found out about her financial dealings, he wanted the money paid back. So back in Florida, at that holiday period, tactics changed. Suddenly, according to Iris Robinson herself, a decision was reached to send all the money back to where it came from. Selwyn Black was contacted by text message.
Just wanting to clarify, the monies are going back to the rightful sponsors and the church is not benefiting at all. Leaving me to pay the sponsors if I hadn't decided, along with Peter, to make a clean break and give the monies to them instead of church.
The First Minister's role was already plain to Selwyn Black through phone conversations that week.
I remember going to my conservatory at home to take those calls to try and separate that business from what was going on in family life.
So you were getting calls at home from Peter Robinson?
Not from Peter directly. Peter was on Iris's arm, cueing Iris as to what to say in two of those conversations.
How do you know that?
Oh, because I could hear him in the background. No, that's not the way things are going to happen. And the conversation was being very much directed. It was certainly he taking charge behind the scenes as to how those monies were going to be returned to two people who were very evidently his friends, as well as, of course, Iris's.
As far as the Robinsons were concerned, it was the job of Selwyn Black to make sure the money was returned, and quickly. He began liaising with Kirk McCambley and others, including a Fraser Company accountant.
He remembered the day very well because he had brought the chequebook to Mr. Fraser and the cheque was paid over, and his understanding was very clearly that that money was a gift, and he didn't expect that money to be returned to Mr. Fraser's estate.
As each day went by, Selwyn Black felt increasingly compromised. His job description hadn't mentioned being the Robinsons' fixer. According to one of Iris Robinson's texts, the First Minister himself wanted to keep a distance from what was going on.
Selwyn, based on discussion, Peter has decided not to be involved in handing over item. Just have solicitors send direct to KC, please.
Peter Robinson wanted nothing to do with handing over money to Ken Campbell.
He knows about this money, he knows about Fred Fraser's money, and he is attempting to keep his hands clean and saying this money must go back through solicitors.
And that he is not to be involved in handing it over.
And that he is not to be involved in handing it over.
Peter Robinson understood the implications of his wife taking money from developers, but he should also have known that giving it back wasn't good enough. In fact, as First Minister, once he knew about the money, even if his wife wanted to keep quiet about it, he was obliged to speak up. As part of our investigation, we wrote to Iris and Peter Robinson on Tuesday, putting our allegations to them. They didn't respond to the allegations directly, but the next day they called the press conference.
I am absolutely certain that everything that I have done has been done as it should. I know no allegation made against me that suggests otherwise. During the course of yesterday, I received a letter from one of the organisations within the BBC. It contained no allegation against me, that it asked questions which are easily answered, but there is no allegation that will stand.
As a minister, Peter Robinson is signed up to a separate ministerial code of conduct. This obliges him to act solely in the public interest at all times. He knew about the money and the contract which had been awarded to Kirk McCambley, but he did not inform Castlereagh Borough Council, the Assembly, Westminster and the Electoral Commission what his wife had done. We specifically asked Peter Robinson about this point earlier this week. This afternoon, his solicitor said Peter Robinson was thoroughly satisfied that he has at all times acted properly and fulfilled all requirements, and would robustly challenge any allegation to the contrary. They said that Iris Robinson was too unwell to respond. 4 months after her relationship with Kirk McCambley had formally ended, Iris Robinson, as her husband said last night, tried to kill herself. This is also when Peter Robinson finally learned of her affair.
The family had come across a letter that Iris had written to Kirk. And the letter from Iris to Kirk was about, this is why this relationship needs to finish. A lot of detail around the nature of the relationship, including that that relationship had been a sexual relationship and it had to end.
Selwyn Black was called to the family home the morning after her suicide attempt. When he got there, the seriously ill Iris was still in the house, though Peter Robinson had already left for work.
I've never allowed my personal life to interfere with the work that I've had to do for the public. It might be worthwhile drawing your attention to the fact that it was about midnight, between midnight and 1 o'clock of the 1st and 2nd of March, that all of these events became known to me. When Iris tried to take her own life, within 12 hours I was standing at the dispatch box in the Assembly to answer First Minister's questions.
I don't think that I ever thought in the early part of my career from East Belfast that I would be standing answering questions on agriculture.
By that time, an ambulance had arrived and taken Iris Robinson to hospital.
I called a GP because the family had been unable to contact the family's practice, and this locum GP coincidentally arrived at the same time as the family's GP. Their assessment straight away was that Iris should be hospitalised.
Whatever the consequences for her health and her marriage, Iris Robinson's financial difficulties were not over. At the Lockkeeper's Inn, Kirk McCambley, as this solicitor's letter proves, was trying to raise the money. He sold the half-share at his cafe and paid Ken Campbell and the estate of the late Fred Fraser £20,000 each, which meant he still had £5,000 of the original money, and £10,000 in total was still outstanding from the original sum. It's not yet known if Iris Robinson paid all or any of it back herself. The outcome has left Kirk McCambley, now 21, with a rueful perspective on his relationship with Iris Robinson.
A lot of things that I look back on and I am so thankful for, and a lot of things I look back on and I'm not so thankful.
This programme has outlined a series of very serious charges against Iris Robinson and her husband, First Minister Peter Robinson. Selwyn Black received no payment for his participation in the programme. For him, it's a matter of conscience.
Some people looking on, I mean the Robinsons, for example, are going to accuse you of absolute betrayal. They're going to say that here you were privy to Iris Robinson's innermost thoughts, her feelings, and here you are now betraying them.
I feel that they have betrayed my trust. I was employed for a particular role. My position was abused. My trust was abused. And their trust in the people who elected them, in a collective sense, was being abused. I felt so angry that I had been sucked in, drawn into that situation. Now I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for Peter. I feel sorry for their personal circumstances. But it doesn't negate that they both knew the consequences of what they had been involved in and did nothing to address that circumstance. It goes right to the heart of the credibility of government in Northern Ireland.